Go ahead.
Thanks. First, on the markets, does the president think it's a big deal that today the Dow Jones is down at one point more than 1,100 points?
Well, to start with, we focus on the trends in the economy, not any one day and any single indicator. Unlike his predecessor, the president does not look at the stock market as a means by which to judge the economy. I would note that the market is up around 15% compared to when President Biden took office. But our measure of success is really how real working families are doing, whether they have a little breathing room, whether they have a job that delivers some dignity and a paycheck that they can support a family on. And we've seen a great deal of progress made on that front.
Good evening, Ape Nation. Guys, what is going on? It is Monday, January 24th, 2022. That was earlier today. That was White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki letting people know.
Unlike his predecessor, the president does not look at the stock market as a means by which to judge the economy.
Now, if you happen to be one of the newer retail investors who have just recently gotten to the stock market, I would say there's a good chance that you are judging the economy right now based off the market and based off what your portfolio looks like, along with all the other nonsense going on right now. And we can throw in there inflation, mandates, and the pandemic, supply chain issues, and now possibly a war with Russia. I think it's safe to say that going forward, retail is going to start looking at the economy more and more through the lens of the stock market. And as we continue to see this downward pressure coming from all around us and our accounts just getting knocked down to nothing, you guys start to wonder to yourself, who is to blame for this? Whose fault is this? So, AMC stock fell again today. Where are we going? Where are we headed? What's going on with the market? What do we have to look forward to? Are we still going to squeeze? We're going to talk about some of these questions, see if we can get them answered. But before we get to any of that,
cue the speeder.
This is the way.
We begin with the latest on the escalating crisis with Russia over Ukraine as the Biden administration orders some Americans to evacuate Ukraine with Russian forces massed on the border.
President Biden is also considering sending U.S. troops to the region. We're covering all the angles of this developing story from Ukraine and Washington.
Morning, George. There are reports Russia is planning significant military action against Ukraine. Those are the words from this latest advisory from the State Department. Now NATO putting extra forces on standby and sending additional ships and fighter jets to Eastern Europe as the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine tells some staff and relatives to leave.
along with other European countries, the United States has decided to pull out all diplomats and tell all foreign aides to leave Ukraine as we are in fear of a Russian invasion at this point. And I don't know how that's going to bode for the stock market, but it can't be that great when you compound it with all the other issues that we have going on. Now, not all the news has been terrible. We did get some good news over the weekend that England is about to drop virtually all anti-COVID restrictions across the country. And that is great for reopening and not having to worry about passports or mandates or any of that. They are going to drop it all. And hopefully this is a sign that the U.S. is soon to follow with the lead that Europe has been taking throughout this whole pandemic for the last 2 years in studies and everything to show the right way to do this. And if this tends to work out, then we could see a massive reopening in the spring and hopefully put this thing behind us for good. But congratulations to Great Britain. Dave, I'm sorry. I know this is salt in the wound for Ireland, but when someone does something right, I want to commend them for it, no matter who it is. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, the Massalorian's not worried about a war in Ukraine against Russia. Oh, no, I am worried about it. I've thought about it. And here's what I've come away with. I don't think we're going to have any trouble booting Russia if they come and make a minor incursion into Ukraine. In the last two major conflicts the United States Armed Forces have been in, we have managed to pull a draw on both of them, basically a tie. Unfortunately, our last two opponents were literally people in skirts and sandals. Now, I don't believe any of the soldiers in these conflicts are to blame for what has happened. I think this is all incompetence that starts at the top, and I am appreciative for the men and women who served this country and put their life down on the line to protect us and make sure we are able to do what we're able to do. I see the incompetence coming from the top, not the bottom. So please don't get my words twisted that I don't appreciate the military, because I have the utmost respect for the men and women who serve this country. I think the United States is pretty safe. I'm not worried about the military too much. With people like Mitch McConnell's twin sister running it as a 4-star admiral, I think we're in good hands. So let's play out a scenario. Let's say it's possible that Russia makes a minor incursion onto sovereign soil of the country of Ukraine. It's amazing to me that we take such a hissy fit with people wanting to cross borders, imaginary lines, and funny, all year long I've been hearing that those lines don't mean anything. There are no borders. We should have open borders. Why is it that DC is in such a hissy fit to go protect Ukraine? I mean, come on now, let's be fair. People like to cross borders. They're looking for better opportunities. A lot of these Russians are living in a communist country. They probably don't like that. They want to be in a more democratic, Western type society. I don't understand what the big deal is, but apparently we could go to war over it. It's funny, after January of last year, when Joe Biden decided to kill the rest of the border wall, walls started going up all over the place. Congress put up walls and barbed wire and fences around the Capitol. Joe Biden put walls up around his Maryland Beach estate. Everyone's putting walls up, unless the walls are to protect the American people. Then they're no good. Can't have those kind of walls. But if they're to protect Congress, the president, put them up. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that the market's going to react one way or another to this upcoming conflict if we actually have a conflict. But a couple things that I pulled from Investopedia, and you can go look this up yourself. This article is from January 8th of 2020. It's by Deborah D'Souza. And they pull up a couple different charts here talking about different smaller crisis/wars that have had effects on the market. You can see how the S&P reacted to these. There's also a chart further down that talks about the capital performance of the market during war. And you can see the numbers here. And if you're wondering to yourself, how is it possible that war or conflict can't cause the stock market to just crash? And it says here, part of the reason for the calm may lie in the changing structure of global oil markets and how the U.S. economy has become less vulnerable to energy price swings, said JP Morgan Fund's chief global strategist David Kelly in a note. Part of the reason may be purely psychological. Today's investors have seen the stock market recover from both 9/11 and the great financial crisis, arguably the greatest geopolitical and economic shocks of our time. This makes it easier for investors to shrug off other events. The belief that there would be no significant subsequent intensification of the initial shock, and second, that central banks stood ready and able to repress financial volatility, said Mohammed Ali Al-Iran, the chief economic advisor at Allianz, in a Bloomberg column. But he warned that investors buying the dip should use a selective overall strategy. This includes emphasizing up in quality trades that are anchored by robust balance sheets, high cash flow generation, resisting the strong temptation for large-scale shifts away from U.S. assets in favor of international investments, and reducing exposure to inherently less liquid market segments that have experienced beneficial spillovers from extraordinary central bank stimulus and the general reach for yield and returns, he said. And if this narrative doesn't fit where we are standing right now in history, the market has been artificially propped up this whole time, and now it is getting all the wind sucked out of it, literally taking the wind right out of the sails of the market. Now, we've seen AMC take a major hit from everything that's gone on in the market. The only thing we can hope for, whether there is a conflict with Russia or not, is that the market soon makes a turnaround. And usually it does. If you just go back and look throughout history, usually after any type of geopolitical spat that has gone on in the past, the market has done what it does, and it rebounds pretty nicely. As far as transparency goes, and Gary Gensler and the SEC this week in the meeting, please don't expect anything to come of that. Gary Gensler had a team go in to investigate the GameStop situation from last year, and he came away with a bunch of dog doo-doo. It meant absolutely nothing to retail. He basically went on there and cleared everyone of all their sins. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I know tonight I'll be saying a prayer for our soldiers and the people of Ukraine to get through this mess. I want to say thank you for all the likes, the views, the comments, the subscribers, and I appreciate each and every one of you for what you do for this community. We are here to break the wheel. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Massalorian, and I'm out.